So I'm Heather McGowan. We're in the Pang Laboratory at the Child Health Institute of New Jersey. I am working on an induced pluripotent stem cell based model of Down syndrome. I have cells that were taken from skin cells of a patient with Down syndrome, and they were reprogrammed to be stem cells. And so when we say pluripotent stem cells, that basically means that if it had come from an embryo, that cell knows how to make every other type of cell in that embryo. And so what we do with them is we use viruses to introduce special proteins called transcription factors that help the cell decide what to become. I actually specifically make them into neurons or brain cells so that I can study how the cells communicate between each other. And you use basically like a mechanical arm and a microscope, and you can touch an individual cell. But it's kind of having like a conversation with the cell, where it's like the cell is telling me what the other cells are telling it. When that works and you can actually find something that's different between the normal cell and the Down syndrome cell, it gives us really unprecedented access to pretty much watch human neural development happen, which is very, very difficult to do otherwise.
If you infect them with it's like a GFP virus, and so what happens is they'll express this protein, fluorescence green, and the protein gets expressed all over the cell. And so when you excite it with a laser, then you can see all of the really nice morphology.
One of the biggest things that you need to make something like that happen, I think, is collaboration. What's great about this place is that we have a lot of people sort of in the same home who are studying many different things and using many different techniques, but we all have, I think, the same basic goal at heart. And so it's a very collaborative, very multidisciplinary place, and I think that really sort of helps keep the excitement alive. And so I just remember a period where all of them just died. They just died and died and died. It was like no matter what I did, they would just die. And I think the fact that when I first started, it worked flawlessly is the reason I didn't just like throw my hands up and say, well, this doesn't work, because I knew it worked. So we did solve that problem eventually. And so that was, it was a big, small victory for me. So it's funny, like when I was a kid, I used to carry around this giant book. It was called The Big Book of Tell Me Why. If you can picture like a little kid like schlepping this book around like to the beach and on car trips and stuff like that, I used to get like a lot of sideways glances, and it was usually mostly from adults, not other kids. I wanted to be like an astronaut who was writing novels and illustrating them, and then I was going to teach on the side, and then when I retired I was going to be a doctor, and like all of this crazy stuff. And so needless to say, when I got to college, I had no like concrete idea of like what I wanted to study or what I wanted to be. And then eventually I ended up applying for a dual degree program anyway. So as an adult, clearly I'm still trying to wear more than one hat. This past summer, I was very, very fortunate to be able to go to Paris for a conference. But one of the cool things was that there were also parents at the conference who have children who have Down syndrome. And one of the really cool things was that I had my poster set up for the poster session, and a pair of women came over to me, and they were both parents of children with Down syndrome. And they asked me sort of very specific questions about what they could be doing really to improve the lives of their kids. To be able to tell them, like, you know, I don't have all of the answers, but yes, I'm working on this, and this is what looks like is going on, I think was very comforting to them, knowing that somebody was working on that problem. It kind of like really hit home, like, okay, I'm doing something really worthwhile. I want to find that why so that I can bring it back to the clinic and bring it back to the patient. And so it's kind of that goal of having things come full circle and really being able to take what I learned from bench to bedside. You need to have, I think, a lot of patience and a lot of perseverance, because it just doesn't always go the way you expect it to go. You step back and you sort of assess what's going on, and when you find that combination of things that really works and you get that result, then it's all worth it, and it keeps it really exciting. And that's what you work for every day when you come in. You're looking for that result, that the discovery, the significant finding. So you hear all the time about all of the breakthroughs and like, oh, we know so many things and there's so many like phenomenal things that are going on in the world of technology and that sort of thing. And it's really the same in science, where all of these breakthroughs are happening all the time, and you kind of just step back every now and then and you're like, I can't believe we can do that. Like, I can't believe somebody was smart enough to figure that out. And so like the idea of like being that somebody who was able to figure out something that we didn't know before, I think is really cool. I love science. I love what I do.